In this video, we're talking all about ads, and there's no one better to talk to about this than one of the ad masters, who is Tyler. He works with us at Kittl, and he is going to actually walk us through why some of the ads we've chosen to look at are good. So we're going to be diving in, looking at ads together, breaking them down, and then I'm going to show you how I recreated some of them in Kittl. I'm going to be making 4, showing you how they were put together in Kittl, how you can make your own, and how you can even set them up as templates. So let's go ahead and dive into the information with Tyler. And if you just want to skip ahead to see how the ads are made, you can of course check the timestamps down below. All right, Tyler, let's walk through some of these ads. I picked my top 4. This is one of them, and I figured what would be most helpful for the viewers, for the audience, especially if they're trying to make their first ad, we should start at just looking at ads and looking at ads that are good and or would convert. So let's just go through these 4. We'll start with this one. You can give your thoughts.
Let's do it. Yeah, so this ad is cool because when you normally see like t-shirt ads, normally it's a video, right? Like a TikTok style video, as we discussed some months ago when discussing what makes a good Facebook ad. This ad really stood out to me because it's a static ad, but it has like an editorial, sort of like an 80s feel to it, with the style of font. It just really stands out to me. And I think that, if you just have a mock-up rather than the male model in this picture, or like a Kittl mock-up, for example, or perhaps it's just a picture of your buddy wearing a t-shirt. You can just put some cool text beneath it, maybe in like a retro style or an 80s style. I think that would really stand out, particularly with the 80s editorial style back and so hot at the moment.
Yeah, and so, I mean, this one I would say is the most different out of all of the ones that you sent me. Like this one, I also immediately kind of got that nostalgic style, but I'm wondering why like you in particular, like you as a person, like why did you choose this one? Because obviously there's some bias, and then there's also just some like strategy, because ads could work even if like you as a person looking at it don't like the thing.
Absolutely.
So what made you like, why do you like this one? You know what I mean? It definitely feels like magazine-y, like super plain Jane, like magazine. What particularly stood out?
Well, I think that's what's so cool about it. It's so plain. It's so plain and magazine-y. I mean, if we're scrolling through like, I don't know, Instagram, for example, you're seeing like, all these, I mean, these ads do work, like the like quick cut TikTok style ads.
Sure.
Like someone jumping a t-shirt changing, that really stands out.
It does.
But then if something really plain pops up, it's like, oh, I like this t-shirt. What's this?
Okay. So it's like a break from the noise, a break from the ad.
Exactly. It's almost like a Trojan horse in the sense that it's so boring that it's cool. It's like, what's this?
Well, also, I think what I like most about it, and again, everybody watching, if tell us in the comments if you like or don't like this one. It'd be super interesting for us to know if you like or don't like this one. Like you said, it's so plain, like it works against the common norm, right? It's like, it's very, very product focused, which I know we're going to look at some in a second. I'll explain what I mean. We're going to look at some that are obviously product focused. But what I mean there is like, this clearly is only advertising like the shirt. Whereas in your description of the TikTok ads, there's this emotional connection to the person that's like flipping through shirts. There's this action, right? So it's like, yes, it's about the shirt because they're trying to sell a shirt, but it's also about like the person, because the person's trying to sell you the action of putting on a shirt. Whereas this is like, do you want the shirt or do you not want the shirt?
Exactly.
Right.
And plus the beauty of it is, to me, is also the fact that I think particularly if you're doing POD and you've got a really cool design and the ad is as simple as this, if people like the t-shirt, they're going to click. Whereas if it's like a TikTok, for example, they might get lost in the noise. Maybe they don't like the fact that it's like a quirky TikTok, but with this sort of ad, you like it or not, and if you like it, you're going to click.
And why do you think? I'm just trying to figure out, because you were saying in the example, maybe we make one that's like using a Kittl mock-up, have some text there below it. This is obviously advertising the style of shirt, and not the brand. I don't think the brand is Half Crop. Obviously, it's down here. It says by Pool House, New York. So,
Yes.
I mean, do you think that this, I'm trying to think of like what viewers are going to start asking, like, well, what is the text that I'm supposed to put here? Do I put the style of shirt? Do I put a design name? Do I put like crew neck? Like, what's the theory here behind the text placement?
So say your niche is something in Y2K or retro, right? Perhaps your text says back to 2004, something like that. You can sort of play on the niche that you're trying to sell in. So say that this is a Y2K t-shirt rather than the plain white t-shirt, perhaps the big text is something like, back to 2004, where it's also like a play on the fact that this is a Y2K t-shirt. We're throwing it back to 98 like we never left, something like that, just something quirky to signify the fact that this is very much a Y2K t-shirt. We're paying homage to the late 90s, early 2000s or 2000s. This is a cool design. Do you want it or not?
You could do with an ad structure like this, like a template like this, you could try out having it, like you said, the big words are the style, which is obviously very like 80s, 90s nostalgic, which is very obvious. Or it could just be like it says here, it says half crop, or it could have said just like, crew neck, or it could say whatever. And so you test back and forth like the most literal version. It's basically the most literal ad ever, right? If it's a shirt, if it's a Y2K shirt or a 90s shirt or a retro shirt, the text just says retro shirt, or it says something specific to the niche. Very interesting.
The reason I think this works is because it's so plain and simple. And it's almost like you put no effort in, but that's the beauty in it. And also, it's the fact that if you are just starting advertising, this is the kind of ad that would be really easy to make in Kittl, but can actually start driving you sales. Because say, for example, you're testing out a bunch of different niches for your Etsy store or Shopify store, for example, and you don't want to bother a friend of yours to help you shoot a TikTok. Maybe, for example, you aren't confident creating a video TikTok ad.
Right.
Something like this, you can literally make inside Kittl in a matter of minutes. And it's such a scroll stopper because it's so simple. And if you make a really cool design in Kittl, this would be an easy way to start generating some attention and getting some sales.
Let's pick a different one. So obviously we still have something product-based here, but there's a lot more text. There's a lot more things to like see here. So for lack of saying obvious things, why don't you just talk about why this one stood out to you and why it makes a good ad?
So say, for example, you're using Kittl to make labels for a supplement brand. Maybe it's for a client of yours or it's for your own brand, right? Well, you could use Kittl first to make the mock-up for what you're selling.
Right.
And two, obviously Kittl has such amazing text that you could sort of create one palette you want. Maybe, for example, the background of this, something made with Kittl AI, right? You can bring it all together and make a really cool and simple ad to show off what you're selling. And once again, this would be particularly helpful for those people that aren't confident enough to go make a video, because AG1, for example, makes tons of cool video ads. They're UGC, made by users or influencers or content creators. But this ad they have in particular, I'm aware has been up for quite some time now because it works. And the beauty of static ads is that as long as you get the hook inside the ad, the hook here, for example, is that if you want to age, anything that's healthy, it starts with AG1. So say your hook is whatever it is. Maybe it's a collagen company and you're saying goodbye to fine lines. That would be the hook. So rather than healthy aging starts here, it's say bye to fine lines. That's a big piece of text. Then you put a mock-up on here, which you made with Kittl. And then, there's gut health, immune defense, cognitive health. Those would just be the benefits of either your client's supplement or your supplement.
And I've also seen this swapped out with other products, like not necessarily like health related. Like you could take this same exact scheme and like, I'm sure either like the Stanley cups, the water cups have used this like a water bottle, and then like all of the points just say like stainless steel, and then the top says like
Exactly.
steel tight cap, and then
Exactly.
yeah. So why, like, or not why? How would someone then think through like the most important text? Because this is obviously a much more text heavy ad. I mean, it's clean. You got your solid color background there with obviously product shot standing out. How would someone go through and figure out like what's the optimal amount of text for like an ad like this?
That's a great question. Now, this obviously isn't a t-shirt. If it's a t-shirt, there can be like no text at all. If you're selling like a product, for example, say it's like a water bottle or a cup or a supplement, and you're selling to an audience of completely brand new people, you have to either sell them on the features of what you're selling or its benefits. So say it's like a water bottle, for example, or like a Stanley cup. What are the features of your bottle or your cup? Is it that it's made with stainless steel, made with copper? Is it that was made in the USA? Is it that it keeps the tea or coffee in your mug warm for a long period of time? You know, those are the features of your cup. Are there benefits of a cup or a mug? I don't know. But are there benefits for a supplement? Absolutely.
Right.
So that's why, for example, something like this, the AG1 supplement, they're selling you the benefits of the supplement, not necessarily its features. Hence the difference. So depending on what you're selling, you either selling someone features or benefits. I think it's pretty intuitive depending on what you're selling.
Yeah, and I'm always thinking back to something another collaborator was mentioning when they were making digital products. That's very, very correlative here. This is an ad that'll obviously show up in your feed or something. This collaborator was talking about making the first thumbnail that you see on a product, like a digital product. So someone searching for something, they boom, that thumbnail pops up. What he was saying is that someone is typically going to purchase a digital product based on like the 2 or 3 like best things they see in that pack. So if it's a pack of like 60 icons, it's rare that someone's going to buy and use all 60. It's possible, but it's rare. So he was like, you need to put your top like 5 at most, top 3 icons that you think are the best. And so I'm already kind of seeing those principles at play here, where it's like, if it's a water bottle, or if it's even something print on demand, let's print on demand beanie or something. I don't know. You have to find like the top 3 points or the top 3 selling pieces of why someone would buy this.
Just a basic like marketing principle that I learned quite early is that if you think about the majority of big brands out there, like McDonald's, for example, the Big Mac draws you in, right?
Right.
So most companies might sell like dozens of different things, but there'll be 1 or 3 things that brings in all of the customers. And when they're in the door, they can check out the other icons you have or the other foods that you have. So say, for example, you have a clothing brand. There might be the one t-shirt design or the one type of design, which will bring in all of your customers. So for that reason, you don't really need to market all of your other designs. Just market the one design really, really well. Bring people into your ecosystem, and then they can discover your other designs.
Let's move on to an even different one. So this one kind of is like a hybrid, I think. Super nice product shot. You have much more interesting things happening in the background, but you still have your like 2 or 3 most important points. So this one stood out to you. Why'd you choose this as a good ad?
Firstly, because you could probably make it pretty easy with Kittl. You can make the background with AI and use AI to also make your product shot to give you, I guess, the product shot that you see in this ad, for example. Now, this ad isn't selling you benefits, it's selling you the features, or it's telling you what is inside.
Okay.
So the marine collagen and red algae, for example, like these aren't really benefits. They're more so features / what's inside. So I guess in the last 2 examples that we've seen, you can see how, like, depending on the angle you're going to sell the ad with, you can either sell people on what's inside the product, the features of it, for example, like a Stanley cup, or its benefits like AG1, this promotes gut health, for example.
The interesting thing about that difference, like you said, features versus benefits versus here is like we're seeing what's inside, is that I'm going to assume that like the people that are perhaps looking at this or interested in it would be like aware of these ingredients, I guess. These are like highly sought after ingredients, right? Like collagen, the algae, the hyaluronic acid is in like every skincare product, right? So I'm assuming that's kind of the logistical play behind here is ingredients that everyone would know.
Exactly. And I mean, the thing about advertising, which is so interesting, is that like I'm sure this brand has tested this product shot, but maybe rather than saying marine collagen, they're saying something like this has smoothened the skin of 90% of customers, because, there are all kinds of people out there. People want different things. One type of customer that will end up buying might buy because it contains marine collagen, which is premium stuff. A different type of customer might buy because rather than seeing marine collagen, they're seeing that this improved the skin of 92% of people in a study. I guess the hard part of advertising, also the fun thing, is that there are dozens of things that you can test, whether it benefits, features, studies, social proof, testimonials. The moment that you do find the messaging that does click, you can scale it to the moon. Think of, for example, the famous Apple ads or Nike ads of the 2000s, like fit 1,000 songs in your pocket, for example, or the Nike ad, which like just do it, or find your greatness, right? Like Apple and Nike have run, not dozens, but like hundreds or thousands of ads over the years. But we remember those ads that they created because they strike a nerve with millions of people. And similarly, even when you're a small brand, it's important to realize that you shouldn't fear throwing things at the wall and experimenting, because when you do find that one ad and message that sticks, you can scale it to the moon.
What I like great about this kind of structure is the versatility. So being able to just kind of swap out, like you're saying, statistics or features or benefits, and then you get to try. So that's why I think a template like this is really, really nice, where you give yourself the ability to have essentially made probably like 5 or 6 different ads just with the same one, and then you're just kind of changing the text, which is like the best possible place to be. Let's switch gears once more to our last example, which I would say is the most product heavy. So why do you like this? Why does it make a good ad, especially not having like any features, benefits, text, none? It has nothing of what we just talked about, yet I'm sure this converts because Nike is very big and people wear shoes. So why is this a good ad?
So I think that even if this wasn't a Nike shoe and it was like a brand new shoe company, bless them for trying, I do genuinely think this would still convert if people liked the shoe, mostly because it's so product heavy. Almost similar to the t-shirt in the first example that we saw. If you like this shoe, you're going to click. And hence why I would always suggest that a company runs all kinds of different ads, video ads, image ads, ads that are more simple, and ads that, not complex, but ads that maybe are more, have more going on and more on your face. Because if you're someone that really likes this shoe, you're, going through your Instagram stories, for example, and this ad pops up, you'll say, oh, I like this shoe. This is what it's called. It's earned my click.
Why does this kind of setup work? Like as opposed to having, or I guess rather my question better asked would be, does this ad work specifically based on placement? Like the shoe is in the middle, text is at the top. In our t-shirt example in the first one, the t-shirt was basically in the middle / top, text was in the bottom. You feel this is easier to look at, easier to read than having like a shoe towards the left and text on the right? Like, is that something that plays into like why something would convert?
Good question. And I don't believe so. No.
Okay.
I don't think placement of the text is going to make or break an ad. I suppose for this particular example, because of the way the shadows are beneath the shoe, it makes sense to have the text above. And that probably, at the same time, text was below. It could still be a really cool ad depending on how they all put it together. But placement of text isn't the most important thing. I also always say to myself in advertising, is this an ad that I would like? And I think it's really important that the people to really have confidence in the fact that you yourself are probably seeing hundreds of ads every single day, be it when you go to work in the morning, on the train or subway, on billboards, when you walk through a city, on social media. Like, you yourself are seeing maybe hundreds or thousands of ads every single day. So I think that intuitively everyone is a marketer and can sort of tell what's good from what isn't good. So if you're putting an ad together and you think, I think that text would look better below the shoe, then do it. If you think it would look better above the shoe, then do it. But I think everyone should really back the fact that we are all marketers. We just haven't all exercised it yet. Unless you, for example, live maybe a bit more remotely and don't come across advertising as much. But if you don't live very remotely and you're seeing ads all the time, then you very much are a marketer.
And the last question based around this specific ad, is there any type of, I don't know, product element that we should be like wary of using in this kind of environment? Or do you feel like pretty much any physical product would work in an ad like this? My fear would be like ad fatigue, I guess, is the element that I'm hitting at, is like, if you see, 17 ads like this with a shoe that's got some nice studio lighting happening, like, the only thing that will make that convert is like the niceness of the shoe, the like crazy coolness of the shoe. That's probably a better question, is how do we perhaps fight against the ad fatigue and take these principles but maybe make this one like a little bit different? How do we keep that in our mind?
So, good question. So the first thing I'll say is that if you are running ads for a company, you should have different types of ads to begin with.
Okay.
I think there's some science about how it takes, and maybe I'm butchering this, but I think it takes someone 7 to 13 times seeing a brand before buying it. So if that's the case, then you should have at least, 5 or 6 different types of ads. Maybe it's one like this, where it's just your shoe or t-shirt with studio lighting. Maybe one is like a minute-long video. Maybe it's you unpackaging, or a friend of yours unpackaging, or an influencer unpackaging a bunch of your merch. Maybe the third type of video is like a TikTok where it's like a minute long, for example, or 30-second long, and someone is trying on your gear. Maybe the fourth type of ad is like a carousel on Facebook, where it's as simple as like your t-shirt on a plain white background and someone scrolling through. Maybe the fifth type of ad is as simple as you taking a picture of a model wearing your t-shirt, and there's some text beneath it. Like, you see, like first and foremost, you should never have one type of ad that you're using to sell to everyone. And the second thing I'll say after that is ad fatigue. So ad fatigue is a thing, and people do have banner blindness, but that doesn't mean that if you have a really cool shoe, cool t-shirt, or cool hoodie that someone might like, it won't stop their scroll. Once again, like, we are seeing thousands of ads or hundreds of ads every single day, depending on your usage of social media and where you go. But that doesn't mean that people don't still stop and look at what they like. So if you trust that you have a really cool product and you put in studio lighting and put some text over it, if you've done your research and know that your ads or your product will resonate with someone, then that's what it will do. It'll resonate with enough people it will stop them on their scroll or on their walk, and it'll get their attention, and hopefully they click and perhaps might purchase too.
Well, thanks for walking us through that. That was super helpful. So I think what I'm going to do is just compile this knowledge, kind of screen record, just walking through how to make all of these.
Yeah, it's always super cool to talk to you, Drew, and hope that you people found this useful. And any questions that they might have or you guys might have watching, put them in the comments and I'm sure to reply.
All right, so now that we have some insight from Tyler, I think we can start and develop our own ads. So let's jump into Kittl. And I have already made a couple of ads based on the ones that we saw. Now I'm going to hit W to reveal the ad that we are going to start with. So this is one of the ads that we looked at with Tyler. And so I wanted to explain and show kind of how I was able to remake this style, or kind of copy or mimic this style of ad for, perhaps my print-on-demand shop or something like that. So the first thing that you can notice here is the focal point here being the person with a shirt. I also have a person with a shirt here that I can move around if I need to. This is just a mock-up from Kittl. So what I did was I just found this retro design over in the templates panel. I believe I just typed in, I went to t-shirts, and I think I just typed in retro. And in scrolling, I eventually found this design. So you can see some that are similar here. I just wanted to go with a retro style, for example. And I clicked it to add it to my artboard, and then I just put it on this mockup right here in the mockup feature. And then what I did after that was upload it. So for example, it's going to look a little bit strange, but let's say I go ahead to the mockup feature just so I can show you where that is. This is the button over here, Save to Uploads. That is the button where it will go direct. The mockup itself will go directly to your Uploads panel, then for you to use in the editor. And so where I found that was I went to Uploads, went to Folders, I went to Mockups, and then you can see when I click in, here is the mockup of the person with the t-shirt, and then obviously there's this background here which I could have kept, but I decided to get rid of it. So I hit the AI background remover over here, and then what that did was just leave me with a perfect clean cut, and that's what you see right here. All right, and so I'm just going to delete that. And then this is just simply a box that I could change to any color if I wanted to. Maybe I wanted it to be a little bit more, on the warm side, closer to the pant color, or maybe I want it to be more on the gray side, similar to what you might see over here. Either one I think would be kind of nice. And the next thing you notice is obviously the type choice, right? So we see this kind of nostalgic 80s, 90s editorial motif, which I honestly think goes pretty well with the clean kind of white or tan shirt with the retro design there. And you're just kind of mimicking this style of type. So the type I'm choosing here is Playfair Display. I think it fits along really nicely with that 90s-esque style. And then I've just decided to add a couple of things down here at the bottom. These are more for just kind of extracurricular information that you might want to know. It's organic cotton. These are premium vintage t-shirts. And then, there's a little logo right here. They put by Pool House, New York. Well, I thought, how could we maybe make this a little bit different? How could we make this our own ad, right, for whatever kind of 90s tee that we're looking for? And I said, well, maybe this person has a logo and it's a globe, or maybe, they have a 9 in a circle and it's these two things together, kind of the 9 symbolizing the 90s, or like the 9 in a circle being 90s. Most of this ad, or at least 50%, was composed of just text. If we look at, layout and things like that, we could put whatever we want up here. So let's say we go back over to the folders, and let's say we want it to be, a Tumblr or something, which I'll show you. This is part of another ad, but let's just go ahead and, for the sake of it, we'll go ahead and remove this. Let's say we move this guy out of the way, and then we could play with this to have a Tumblr here, okay? But hopefully you're getting the point here is, I could replace this with something else that's not just a shirt. And I think that's the strength where an ad like this comes from, is being able to use it for multiple purposes, or use it for, multiple products. Instead of tees, we put jackets, we put hoodies, we put hats, we put beanies, and then you can have a kind of fully fledged ad system ready for this. And so that's kind of how I was able to compose this together using this as a reference. Now this looks like a 4:5 ratio. I just went with a square, but feel free to kind of do with that what you will. All right, so here we have our next ad that I formulated based off of the AG drink here, the gut health or the cardiovascular health or whatever you want to call it, basically this kind of like probiotic drink or something like that. And so what I wanted to mimic was essentially just the general layout here. So if I make this a little bit bigger, you can see comparatively it's pretty much the same layout that was able to be achieved in Kittl, which is kind of funny. I have like on the left, I have like this drink that's supports health, and then what I decided to do apparently was make an ad for whiskey, which may not necessarily promote health. So, but anyway, the point here was in making the ad. I decided to go with whiskey, something I'm very passionate about, so I decided to give it a go. This was a label. This part of this bottle was a label. So if we go over to projects, or excuse me, if we go over into logo and we go down to label, I think what I just typed in was whiskey, and you're going to see a whole bunch of different things. I could have chose any one of these. Okay, this one's really nice. There it is right there, CC Rider. Okay, so this is the template that I went with by this amazing artist, and I changed it a little bit. I changed it to Wild Boy Bourbon Whiskey. I changed the icon from a motorcycle to a cowboy or someone, on the horse or whatever. I put a little 10-year stamp there at the bottom because I thought that was cool. And then from there, again, I just went to the mockups panel, which again, if I click it, it's going to look really weird. So bear with me for just a second. So you can see there's design there. That's the entire ad. But where I found the mockup was here in the bottles. So I just went to view all. You see we have a ton of bottles here. And I just scrolled down and I picked one of these whiskey. I believe it was this one right here. Yeah, so it was this bottle right here. Of course, it doesn't make sense. I would have to Anyway, this is similar to what I did. I'm going to go back to the editor. So you get the point. I uploaded that to Kittl. And so here is my cutout of that bottle from that mock-up. Same principle here. And from there, I had my product. So maybe you already have your product. Maybe you already have your water bottle or your sticker or your perhaps print on demand thing that you're trying to advertise, or maybe you actually do have a product or you're selling something different. I have that front and center here, and then from there I'm just kind of mimicking the layout of the type over here on the left. So we have a big headline here, we have a sub tag that's kind of explaining every scoop supports vitality and longevity by addressing blank blank blank. So I didn't really copy that. I just went ahead and said, instead of healthy aging or like happy drinking or something like that, I put whoa there cowboy because I think that goes with the Wild Boy. I also thought that maybe in the midst of scrolling, do you see something that says whoa there cowboy, it kind of is like, whoa, I want to stop for a second, look at this. And then have a drink warmer than the western desert. I thought that was that was just me coming up with what I think is clever. And then I just copied this overall layout of having a feature or a promotional aspect of it with the line. So, of course, we've got wax sealed. I just assumed that kind of like promotes security and safety. Like this bottle wasn't tampered with. It's very important that the bottles aren't tampered with. We have a hexagonal bottle. I don't know why that's a highlight or a feature, but maybe you like more stability, I guess, for travel perhaps. This is just silly, sheriff approved. I don't know what that really means, but there's this sheriff symbol that I put up here at the top, and so obviously that's a joke. Here I put made in Kentucky. That's a really big selling point, especially for whiskey and especially for bourbon. And then aged 10 years, also a really, really big selling point. So really these two, maybe this 3 with the wax sealed are the most important ones. And then if I look over here, we have this kind of like, these statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. That's something that a lot of products obviously have to do if they have not been evaluated. And so I just kind of put my own little sub tag down here. Just please drink responsibly, do not consume alcohol and drive or operate motor vehicles, things like that, just to fill the overall layout and mimic this style of the ad that we see here. And so that's how it was easily put together in Kittl. I mean, again, if we look at this, a vast majority, I would say at least 60 to 70% of this is text. All right, so stuff that you can really easily work with in Kittl. For example, These are all left justified. So if I were to like continue to, duplicate these, they're all left justified. I right justified these over here in the right panel to make sure that they line up with the line. These are all just center aligned. This is also left justified in this bounding box, which I just grabbed from the shapes panel. And really it's just the product itself. As long as you have that product photo or the product mock-up from whatever you might be using, you can formulate ads like this really easily in Kittl. And then as opposed to having it just kind of like on white, which still doesn't look super bad. If I'm going to be honest, I don't think this looks bad at all. I think it actually looks pretty cool. What I did was I added a gradient object color. And so just to give it, if I hit the W button, just gives it a little bit more depth. Even now that I'm looking at it, it could probably be like a little bit warmer towards the orange side. And so that was also really easy to do. All you have to do is go to the basic shapes. I'll go over here to object color, go down to solid color, I go to gradient color. Okay, and so now we have a gradient, and you've got one without and one with, and then I just chose this black color, chose the orange, and then that's pretty much how you do it. And then I just put it behind this bottle here, so it's pretty easy to do and formulate an ad like this in Kittl. All right, here is our next ad example, which is based off of this skincare ad that we, again, looked at with Tyler. So we have a big focal product on the right side, and then on the left we have these features or benefits, which is very similar to the previous ad that we looked at with the whiskey. So I decided to think about how we could perhaps use that for print on demand, or if you are providing a product yourself. Let's say you are actually creating or printing your own tote bags, for example. I just decided let's figure out how to mimic this layout and make it our own. And so if we see the comparison here, we've got product on the right, we've got 1, 2, 3 here on the left, 1, 2, 3, okay? And so these are kind of just made up. I just thought, okay, maybe it's locally sourced cotton, it's durable enough for large items because, maybe the stitching is really, really thick, and then there's a thick screen printed graphic that's super vibrant, right? This giant sunflower, whatever, and that could look like any graphic that you want. But again, we could start changing that with any product here that we might want. Okay, it could be a mug, it could be a sweater, it could be this t-shirt, it could be this mug, or whatever. It could be, here on the right, and it looks like it's laying on the table. So let's just try it. For example, let's bring the whiskey bottle back, and if we go ahead and remove the background from that will give us a clean cut image of the bottle. All right, let's just say for the moment we move the tote bag out of the way. We move this guy, we tilt it, we give him a little drop shadow. We move the angle to be, move the offset and move the angle to be here. We make the drop shadow even darker, decrease the blur. Okay, and so now we have this bottle that's chilling on the table. Maybe not the most realistic thing, but that's an example where we could then go over here and we could put 3 different kinds of icons. We could say wax sealed stamp, made in Kentucky, 10-year aged statement, or aged for 10 years or whatever. And I think you get the idea of how these ads can be manipulated or changed so that you can be something that's your own, right? And what I did to find the background was I just went to, if we look at this one, it's really kind of set up pretty intensely. We have this kind of like sandy water, perhaps with some clouds in the background, and then we have looks like what's a gradient is kind of coming over this in the same color. But I said, well, let's make it look like it's on a table because it doesn't really fit my tote bag. And so what I went over into the photos, and then I think I just typed in wood table, and yeah, so you can pick any of these wood tables that looks nice to you, that kind of fits your vibe. And I thought that was the easiest to play with the shadow. So we have this shadow, which we can make more blurry, or I like to bring it a little bit closer, just to make it look like it's laying on the table, right? And that makes it look a little bit more natural. It plays with the light a little bit nicer. It looks like light is coming from this side of the table, and so the shadow is going to be on the right side. So you can make it look a little bit realistic. It's really 3 components: background, the product itself, and text, right? And so this isn't even really saying, buy my tote bag. This is really just like features, and there'd probably be, if this is an ad, there would be like a little bar here at the bottom that says click to purchase or buy now or whatever. So you don't have to really worry about that if you're actually going to do this as an ad. So again, yeah, we have these 3 benefits, and you could easily replicate this, change the background, change the product on the right, and then change your benefits or features on the left. And that's a super easy way to gain attention, gather attraction, build brand representation, and make a good ad. All right, so the last ad we're going to look at that I replicated was this Pegasus ad, this shoe ad for Nike, which looks like it's in conjunction or collaboration with another brand, which is, I guess, where the Pegasus comes from, since there's another little logo here. And so this one's very interesting because there's no real specific benefits stated. And I think that, again, with the discussion with Tyler, it's not really needed because there's, it's a Nike shoe. Nike's already a big brand. You know what Nike is. You have this idea of the quality of a Nike shoe when you go to purchase one or wear one or when you see one. So it's really just like no further information needed because the shoe is already cool. And so that's what this ad does really well, is that it just shows off the product shoe, which is really, really cool. And that is the selling point. The selling point is the coolness of the shoe. Now, what I decided to do with that is obviously mimic the layout a little bit. I have text here up at the top, and then I made this kind of like little sea turtle logo, which really isn't a logo. I just grabbed it from the Elements panel. In the illustrations, I just typed in sea turtle. It's pretty easy, just because I saw the Nike here to the left. I thought that was kind of cool, so I made my own with the little turtle here to the left and chose some big bold type over here. You can see which one it is if you want to use that and replicate it. And I decided, well, maybe we're selling tumblers for a tumbler brand that really cares about cleaning up the sea and sea preservation and, of course, saving sea turtles. And so that's why I got the thought to use this space that's on the left and the right that looks a little bit just empty and actually put something there that would be helpful. So saving the sea turtles with each purchase, reusable tumblers from recycled steel, right? And so that's where I came up with cups with a purpose, is as opposed to just going to the store and buying a cup because you say, oh, I just want a cup. Maybe this company is creating designs and selling tumblers from recycled material that with each purchase, it goes to saving the sea turtles through something, right? And so perhaps that's this association that I made with a anchor logo in a circle. Then I put the little turtle right there. And so again, you could change this out with anything you want. By the way, this is a fake shadow. This is literally just a circle if you want to know how to do that. It's just a circle, which I'm going to just kind of make into an oval. And then to get this shadowy effect, again, we go up to object color, go over to gradient color, and we're going to turn off one of those colors, okay? And it looks like I did it backwards. So we have the darkest part here and the lightest part here. And so that's how I can create this kind of fake shadow. And then we can play with how intense and how faded it gets. We can also select the black and even turn that opacity down a little bit so that it's not so harsh. And then when I bring the cup forward, then you can see you have this shadow, and that's all that is. It's just a fake shadow, just because the bottom of this render wasn't super great, and I figured it's okay for the purposes of this example. But that's how you can make like a fake shadow, and you could replicate this. Again, this is a perfect ad structure to be able to be repurposed. I could put a different product. I could put that whiskey bottle there in the middle of that and put up there at the top, which is already similar to the ad that I already made for that, which is Whoa There Cowboy, or warm Kentucky whiskey, or whatever you want. And you could put the logo at the bottom here, and then you could put aged for 10 years and wax sealed, or aged for 10 years, made in Bardstown, or whatever. And so these are really easily made and repurposed. Also, I did the same thing, by the way, that I did with the whiskey one, which is this is just a box where I can easily change the colors of this if I want to whatever I want, and it just gives it a little bit more depth. Also, I saved the pink of this cup just to see what this would look like in the pink, which I think also works pretty well, but, maybe conflicts with this red text. So I decided to keep it darker red. But, you could experiment with this and make it your own. You know, you could have that middle product shot, you could have the background be a different color, you could experiment with different gradients, you could experiment with different textures. This kind of just looks like it's on a, you know, white table or against a white wall or something like that, but you could have it look like it's laying on a table, similar to the tote bag one. And you can really get diverse with this to make your own ad. And hopefully you're seeing how it's really easily in Kittl, you know, in conjunction with these kind of 3 points, right? A background, a product, and type. You know, the type speaks a lot for not only describing what the product is, but giving the user a reason and to click through and learn more. So of course the product itself, that product shot needs to be really, really good because that's the visual. But we also have a little bit of interest going on in the background, which this is just a box with some color on it. And then the type, you know, the type can say a lot. And I think this bold type kind of fits with the overall, you know, message of being bold. Maybe doesn't necessarily fit with this script, but this could just be one design of this company that makes the designs for Sea Turtle. So hopefully this is kind of showing you how you can formulate your own ads and also use Kittl to do it for you. Well, I hope that was super helpful for you in understanding how ads are structured, what makes a good ad, and hopefully how you can start formulating your own ad or take steps towards your first ad if you're perhaps frustrated or anxious or worried about starting it. You know, hopefully information like this gets you to that next step where you can even grow your business farther and faster. So let me know if that was helpful. Let me know if you want to see any other specifics or if you need any other information or if there was something that Tyler and I talked about that didn't make sense. Let me know down in the comments so that we can make another video for you clarifying that. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that like button, and we will see you in the next video.